Okay, in this video, I'm going to share how to connect your ProEdge ChatBot over to your CRM. Now, as an EXPer, I have KVCore, so I'll be using KVCore as my example CRM. But I'm sure if you use Chime or any of the other CRMs out there, they more than likely have a Zap. If you're not familiar with Zapier, go ahead and sign up for it. It's a freebie up to a certain number of Zaps. But what you're going to find is it's a lifesaver in automating your business. So more than likely, you'll want to upgrade it to have more capabilities and use Zapier in part of your everyday of connecting systems. The easiest way I explain Zapier is it's based on the premise of if this happens in one system, do this in another system, and they're called Zaps. So most systems out there now support a Zap. So in this example, to make this work, I'm going to share connecting the ProEdge ChatBot to my KVCore. I want to have 3 systems open in order to make this happen. The first one is Zapier itself. Now for KVCore, I'm going to open this up because you're going to need to connect KVCore to Zapier and make the connection. There's 2 things you need to do. One is Zapier has KVCore as a private Zap. So in the link below on this member site, I put instructions on how to add KVCore to your Zapier account. Go ahead and follow those instructions and get Zapier in there. What it'll do is it'll probably add on the home page a Zap that says my first KVCore Zap. You want to delete that. So there's a down arrow and you come down and say delete or trash and get rid of that one because that's assuming that KVCore is the source. In this example, in the ProEdge ChatBot, I have a certain tagging mechanism so that when a lead is tagged in the chatbot, I want to use that as an event that's going to trigger the Zap to send it over to your other system. So that's how we're going to use it. We're also going to need the key in ManyChat, so I'll show you that as well. So let's get down and start creating a Zap that will take buyers and sellers that are collected by the chatbot and send them over to KVCore. What you're going to do is you're going to say create Zap. Now, the first thing you want to do is name your Zap. So click at the very top. You're going to give it a name. I'll call it ProEdge ChatBot Buyer to KVCore. And I like to name my Zaps basically what it's doing. So it's taking the ProEdge ChatBot Buyer and sending it over to KVCore. So that's how I name it. Now, obviously, if you're using Chime, you'll say ProEdge ChatBot Buyer to Chime, make it relevant to your Zap. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use ManyChat as the starting point. So I'll start typing in ManyChat in the trigger and I'll select it here. And then I'll take a drop down here and say, what is the trigger event that's going to start this flow? So I could do it based on subscriber. When somebody comes in your chatbot, trigger the Zap. Now that doesn't make sense because a lot of people are going to subscribe to your ManyChat system, but they're not necessarily leads. You want the chatbot to nurture those leads, collect phone number and emails, and then when those events happen, send it over to your CRM. So what I do in the ProEdge ChatBot is use a tagged user event. So when the user is tagged a certain way, that is going to be the event that sends it over to your KVCore system. So I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. And I'm now going to select my ManyChat account. Now I have several ManyChat accounts. So if you only have one, you're new to ManyChat, you'll only see one, you'll go ahead and select it. If you have more than one account, select your appropriate starting account. I'll hit continue. Now in the system here, where it's going to say set up the trigger itself. So when I hit this down arrow to select the tag, my tags have the word CRM in it. So I have one tag that's called send buyer to CRM and another one called send seller to CRM. And they're preset up in the chatbot flows. So you want to follow my tags. There is a little glitch in the ManyChat Zap in that it doesn't show me the CRM tags. It actually doesn't show me a lot of my tags because I have quite a few tags. So there is a little glitch. I'm going to show you how to get around that. So you hit the custom field here, and then what I need you to do is come over to ManyChat, and you come down here to settings, and come over here to tags. And if you just type in the word, do a control F to find, you'll see that I have 2 different tags. I have one send buyer to CRM and one send seller to CRM. So since this is a buyer zap, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to highlight this row. Don't change the name here because that's hard coded in my bot. But as you highlight it in ManyChat, they show you what the tag ID is. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this tag ID. I'll Control C, and I'm going to come back over to my Zapier account. And when I hit choose value, I'm going to hit custom, and I'm going to paste that tag ID right here and hit refresh field. So now I have a tag field. So I'll come over here and I'll say trigger zap, and it found that myself was a user in ManyChat tagged as a buyer. Now, if you're doing your test and it fails, that just means that you don't have any subscriber in your ManyChat yet that has that tag. You can solve that by coming over here to settings, go to audiences, find a record, and then give them the tags. There's an add tag right here, and you could type in CRM and go ahead and add that tag there. So I have both of those tags for this video. So if I come back in over here, I've successfully now set up the one side of the zap, which is when a user is tagged in ManyChat with a send buyer to CRM, this zap is going to fire. And you'll see that there's a green check mark if it was done properly. Now, the action is going to be what we do when we have that event. So in this case, we're going to use KVCore as the event. So if you follow the instructions and added KVCore to Zapier, you'll see that here on the list. If you don't see it on the list, go back and check my instructions on the member site and click the invitation list to add that in. Now in KVCore, there's a couple different events I can use. I can do what's called a create contact or an update contact. In this case, I'm going to do create a brand new contact. So when the chatbot gets that new buyer in there from a Facebook ad, collects the contact information, that's when I want the zap to fire and send it to my KVCore system. I'm going to hit continue. Now, if you haven't signed into your KVCore, this is where having KVCore open helps out. So because I haven't already connected my KVCore with the key, if following those instructions, you're going to need to come over to the KVCore platform. And if you're on your dashboard, come down here to the lead engine right here. And when you click on the lead engine, you'll come up to the top right to what's called lead Dropbox. And go ahead and open that up. And right here is the Zapier key for KVCore. You'll go ahead and hit copy. And then come back to Zapier. So now when you say sign into KVCore, it's going to ask you for that KVCore account key. And I just Control V and paste that key in here and hit yes. So now Zapier is successfully connected to my KVCore system. I hit continue. So now the last thing I need to do is tell Zapier, what am I doing with the data that I have in ManyChat? Where does it go in KVCore? So over in here, I have all the fields that are in my KVCore system. So I can click on this field name, and this is now showing me the data in ManyChat. I can take the person's first name. Down here, I'll pick their last name. In KVCore, they have what's called lead type. So I know these are buyers, so I'm going to select buyer as the lead type. And then down here, I have things like email. So I can search for email. So as I start typing in email, what you want to do is you want to grab this custom field, PE email address field. So that will be the field that you use in the mapping. Now for cell phone, I'll just put in phone, start typing phone, and I'm going to look for the PE phone number for ProEdge phone number that the chatbot collected. So now I have the person's first name, last name, the lead type is buyer, ready to go. If you have certain statuses that you use in your CRM, you want to place it here in the status. So in my CRM and KVCore, I have the leads coming in as a new lead. So I put in new lead as the status, and that'll be substantiated in KVCore. Now, what I also do is the capture method, I always say where it came from. So in this case, in KVCore, I want to know that this lead came in from my chatbot. And then they also have a source field. So I'll go in and put the source being the chatbot as well, because the chatbot's going to be used marketing everywhere, from signs to Facebook ads to YouTube videos. You'll market everywhere. So the sources are the same here. Now, what you could also do is you have lots of other fields in KVCore. So if the buyer told me their city they're interested in, I do have a field called area of interest. So over here, you can go down and hit search and type in area of interest, so I know where they're interested in seeing a house. As I come down here, I can do other things. So I can maybe put in notes. So the chatbot is going to collect different information about these buyers. So one thing it asks for is beds. So I'm going to type in the word beds here. And then down here, I'm going to grab the field in my ManyChat system called beds. So if I start typing in beds, there's a PE bedrooms. So that'll be the field that's storing the number of bedrooms the buyer said they wanted. So now I know that information in my KVCore. I usually do like a little pipe, and maybe I do baths with a question or a little colon here. And then down here, I'll type in the word baths. And I do have a field where I store the bathrooms. So what I also may want to do is another pipe. I call it a pipe here. Maybe if the bot told me about their budget, I want to also put that in the note. And my chatbot's designed to give me budget. So if I type in budget here, you'll see I have a buy budget field where I'm going to put that data. So now I have a nice clean zap. I've defined what fields are going to carry over to KVCore. And then finally, if there's tags that you use, so if I call this a buyer tag or what have you, I could put the tag in before I set it up. And then I hit continue. So over in here, they have a test, and I can go ahead and test that out. And if I've done it successfully in my mapping, when it comes back, it's sending the data to my KVCore, and it said successfully sent it over. And the last step is turning on your Zap. So now I have successfully turned on my Zap. So now any buyer coming in from the ProEdge ChatBot is going to be sent over to your KVCore. Now here's one of my ninja tricks on Zapier here of how to speed things up in doing your mappings. So I know that I've already made it one Zap for buyers going over KVCore, but now I need to send over sellers. So inside of Zapier, I can go down to this one that's already live. So it's a ProEdge ChatBot buyer to KVCore, and I can hit this down arrow and come down here and say copy. So now Zapier just created a copy for me, and I can go ahead and open that up. Now what I want to do is up at the very top is I want to give it a name. So I'm going to get rid of the word copy. And this time I'm going to change, instead of buyer to CRM or KVCore in my case, I'm going to say it's a seller going over. So over in here, I need to make two changes because I have the Zaps already built. The first thing is I need to change I already connected my account, so I need to basically change the trigger event. So I need a different tag ID that's on ManyChat. So when they get tagged as a seller, that's going to send it over as a seller. So I'm going to head back over to my ManyChat account, go to tag or settings and tags. And when I go search on CRMs, I want to grab this send seller to CRM tag. And I'll go ahead and copy that tag and come back over here to Zapier and paste that in. So now I've pasted a seller tag into Zapier. And if I say test account, you'll see that also John Smart has a tag called send seller to CRM. So this is now successful. So it found it in the test. Now the final thing I need to do is on KVCore, the setup action, their first name and last name, phone number and email makes sense, but they're not a buyer, they're actually a seller. So I'm going to change the seller as the lead type. And as I come down here, all this stays the same, but area of interest doesn't make sense, so I'll get rid of that. But I'll come down here, and the chatbot does collect their street address. So I'm going to type in street address. So if the homeowner says they want to meet, I do have a property street address right here that I'll put that in the Zap. And down here, the chatbot will also ask for the zip or postal code. So if I start typing in zip, there's a property zip code that I'm going to put in. And then these fields I'm going to get rid of because the seller's not telling me beds and baths typically in the flow. They're just saying I need to sell my house, come visit me. Here's my street. Here's the zip code I'm in. Here's the timing of my sale, etc. Now in here, again, if you have a different tag, put that in here and hit continue. And finally, I turn that zap on. So you'll see with this ninja trick, I set up the first zap for buyers. I copied it, made a few changes to make it a seller's app. So now in Zapier, I've successfully created 2 zaps, send buyers to KVCore and sellers, and they're both turned on. So now I can put my chatbot to work in getting me leads. And when the lead is collected, it's over in my KVCore system. So go ahead and set your Zapes up. Now the Zapier accounts with the Zapes or Zaps are set up so that they're automatic. They're set up behind the scenes. So you set it and let this system work for you. And if you have any problems, reach out to me and I'm here to support you.